Hi, this is Dr. Hassan Abdullah with the course Web Applications Programming, and we are at topic number 15, which is creating dynamic web application. And this is a very exciting topic, and it's a very comprehensive topic. And there are multiple video lectures for this topic, and right now we are at lecture number 15B. So, what is the difference between 15B and 15A? In 15A, we did a connection with the database, and we were looking at the database, and we were running certain queries on the database, including group by queries also. And we also took a backup of the database. That was 15A. Now, 15B is that whatever we were doing, we were doing in the cPanel environment. In 15B, what we want to do is that we want to connect to the database and run the queries in PHP, and that PHP is the logic basically, and then display the contents of the database in the browser. So that is the objective of this video lecture 15B. So whatever I have described or mentioned, that is written here in front of you. So what I'll do is that now we'll go to the web, and we'll go to a hosting service which provides cPanel for free. Of course, it's your choice that you can get other options also. And I'll show you all of the working and explain the code to you also. So let's move on and start from the point. So we discussed the three-tier architecture, and what we have covered uh, in the video about cPanel was we looked at the data tier. Okay, and in that data tier we had a database, and I showed you number of queries running on that database also. So the ultimate objective is to have these contents of the database in the presentation tier or with the client. That client could be using a laptop, or it could be using a mobile phone, or whatever. So this video is mostly about this logic tier. It's all about it, because that logic tier ties together the data tier with the presentation tier. All right. So what I am trying to explain here is this is the data tier. Okay, this is the cPanel a short screenshot, right? And these are the contents of the table, and the name of the table is student. And what we want to do is that we need to have these contents of the table displayed in the presentation layer at the client side. This is the client side. This is through the browser. And obviously whatever the contents are in the database, okay, those contents should be there in the browser also. Of course, I can change the order, I can do other things also, but the content should remain the same. They are not allowed to change. So let's go about it, and how to display the contents of the data tier to the presentation layer, or the presentation tier. Okay, so let me go there. All right. So these are the steps for displaying data on the web. So look at these steps. I will explain these steps, and I'll show you also. So the first step is making the database connection. So that database connection requires the host. This is the host where your website is being hosted. User, you are the user. Okay, you have a user account, and you have a password also. This is your password, and this is the database in which your data is stored. So this database can have multiple tables, right? So depending upon the package you have. So, and you should know all of these things, right? And how do you know them, and where do you get these? I will explain it to you. I will show it to you also. So host name, you should know the host name, you should know your username, you should know your password, and you should know the name of the database. So once this database connection is established or not established, then check the connection. Okay, check the connection. Now this is applicable for wherever hosting is done. So you check the connection. If the connection is fine, then of course you can proceed ahead. Otherwise, you get an error message. So once the connection has been made with the database, now check if the table exists or not. If the table does not exist, there's no point in moving forward. There has to be an error message generated, right? and once it is established that the table do exist, then fetch the data from the table. Fetch the data from the table. Now, what should be remembered here is that you should be careful about the spelling names, right? And remember this PHP is case sensitive. So that will create a lot of problems if you are not careful about these things. So once you have fetched the data from the tables, right, the database table, then you display the table headers. This display the table headers is at the client side. So you create a table at the client end, and at the client end the table first row is the title of the headers. You can use any font or color whatever you like, and then you get one row at a time from the database which is at the data tier, row by row, and populate this table. Okay, and finally you close this connection, database connection. Now what is you should be careful about, which I have shown in red color, is that if you are not careful about the host username, your password, database name, case sensitivity, column names, is not going to work, and you may not get very intelligent messages why it's not working, and it will cause a lot of uncomfort, discomfort. So to avoid all these things you have to be careful, right? So let's move on and work on the actual thing in real time. So I have logged into the account which I created and I showed you also. So, and in that account there are two accounts. Okay, so one is this account. This is my username that is assigned by the system, and this is another username assigned by the system. Okay, and this is the URL against which I can display the contents of my PHP files. This for this account, and this is the URL against which I can display against the second account, right? So it depends upon, of course I can create another account also. Three accounts are allowed, so two out of three have been created. So since I have placed the page which I want to display to get the results from the database in this account, so I click on it. I click on it, and as before I show you that control panel will take me to C panel, which is, and there I have the full access to the database. For video I've already shown it to you. So I now there are a number of things which you need to remember, which I've mentioned many times. So what you need to remember is that what is your domain name, because this domain name you're going to use when you display the contents of your PHP file, not the contents basically, but the contents of the database which are retrieved from the data tier. Okay, and this is your URL. Number one, you should remember this or take a note. Number two is that your username. This is your username, okay? Because you will need this username to make the database connection. All right, so you need to remember it or note it somewhere. And you also need your password, which when you click on this button, this password will show, and you need this password to make the connection to the database. Okay, and you should also be aware of the name of the database, which you know through the control panel also. So these things you must remember and note them, and of course that will be coming very handy to you. Thank you. Go to file manager. I go to file manager, and here's the place where I will place and put all my nice PHP files. But do not upload files here. I'm not don't put the files here. So this htdocs is where I can put the files. Of course this will depend upon, for other hosting services it may be different. So I open it, okay, and there are a bunch of files present here. So there's one file PHP, other file, and another file. So this file show db.php is the file in which I have placed the contents to retrieve the data from the database. Okay, so let me open this file. Okay, I have opened the file, and this is the host name. This if so depending upon where you're hosting, you will have the host name here. This is the username. This is the hosting provided by the host. This is the password which I am not showing, and this is the name of the database. So you can see that in this particular case, the database name is same as the username. Okay, and of course this extension is the actual name of the database, right? So the complete is the database name. All right. So one suggestion is that instead of putting this database connection in every file, I would suggest that you make a folder, and in that folder put a file which this database connectivity, so that you make changes at only one place, and here you just call that file through the path, so that will serve the same purpose anyway. So now I make the connection, and of course these names can be different also. I make the connection, and when I have made the connection, I will check, right, that is there a connection or not. So if there's no connection made, maybe some error here, then there is a message connection failed. Now I want to check if the table exists or not. So this is the query I run, okay, and this basically counts the number of rows returned. So if the number of rows returned is 0, it means there's nothing exists, right? So there's a error message. Now this is a sequential running of code. So it will not stop here if a table exists. So the table exists here, and then I run the command select asterisk from students. So I'll retrieve all the records, all the columns, and order by ID in ascending order, because if you recall in the image they were in ascending of 1 2 3 and whatever the numbers were there. And here this basically dollar result will store the number of results returned, the number of rows. Let's move ahead. So we are here actually. So echo, right, echo user list. This is a label of size, the size is h2, and then the table border is set to 1 so that the border appears, and then a table is declared. Okay, then a table is declared. So this table, this is consists of a single row, tr here, and tr is closed. So it consists of a single row, and it consists of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8 columns, and each column starts with th and end with /th, and the label. So this label can be anything. This is just like a comment, not a comment, but it's a displays on the screen. This is a comment actually, I'm sorry, this is the comment. Okay, so let's move ahead. So now this code is very important. So what this code is showing is that this variable contains the number of records returned. So if the number of records returned is greater than 0, it means the table was not empty, right? So this data then is loaded into an array, okay, and that array, basically the cells of the array contain the values, okay. So basically this td is going to be the column, okay, the column, right, and that column is a single row. Multiple columns in a single row, same as before, but the difference is that now it contains the actual value fetched from the table. So this is the append php command over here. This is the append command. So this array, okay, so this array is going to be this cell will contain the id. Have to be careful about the case, right? And this is key, and this while loop is going to keep on executing throwing out the arrays, I'm sorry, throwing out the rows, as long as this is greater than 0. So the table will be generated, and of course if there is nothing there, if this fails, then it says no data found, and this echo says basically close this is the tag to close the table. And where does that tag actually started? It started before, okay, table tag. Here is the tag which is being closed. This is the tag, Okay, and remember that echo is the PHP command, and if within double quotes, so it takes care of the angle brackets, otherwise they cause a problem. So we are able to generate the code, use the code, and then of course we will execute this code. So let me show it to you. So this is the, if you recall, this is the name of the website which was assigned by the hosting service, which I told you to remember, and this is the location where / location is the root where a file is placed by the name of db.php. These are the contents of that file, right? Now we can of course make this look fancy or whatever the way we want. So now what I'll do is, because the location of the file which will display the contents of the database is the same, only the name is different. So I just change the name, show db, and press enter, and I get the contents of that database. So, and of course these contents match, and I can do all the things I want to do with it. But for that to show in the browser, I have to do a lot of work. So that's all for this video. Thank you very much.